Today's goal is pretty simple. We are full stack coding using Next.js, Prisma, Postgres, database via vercel. No goal of what it will be, but for those that have inquired and requested, here we are. So we'll start with the empty directory. Add it on the desktop. Let's follow the documentation with this. Go to Next.js. Go to the documentation. What is Next.js? Next.js is a React framework for building full stack web applications. You use React components to build user interfaces and Next.js for additional features and optimization. So we're taking advantage of Next.js full stack capability with the server and the front end all being within the one application. The documentation are organized into 3 sections. Get started. It's the step-by-step tutorials to help you create a new app and learn the core Next.js features. There are guides, tutorials on specific use cases. Choose what's relevant to you, and the API reference, which is the detailed technical reference for every feature. So we'll be taking advantage of the newest feature, which is the app router. And from the docs, if you click on installation, we're using npm. Here's the latest command to install. Here's the command to install the latest version of the Next.js app. And copy it. Head back to the docs or head back to the terminal. Paste in this command space the dot, install it in the current directory. For the project, we'll be using the recommended defaults, which come with TypeScript, ESLint, no React compiler, Tailwind, no source directory, the app router, and the agents.md. Just full stack coding today, no real plans. Going to use the documentation to add and test and play with new features. This will be a good opportunity to learn how to connect a Next.js application to a Postgres database using Prisma as the ORM. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. We'll love to get to know you, where you're stopping in from, and answer any questions or concerns or take any feedback that you may have. Certainly looking forward to it. It is always appreciated. So it appears that the project has finished installing. We'll close this out. Per the package.json, the latest version of Next, we are on 16.3 and React 19.2. And the global CSS, just going to remove this boiler styling and add a body. Let's go with one second. We'll just update this like that. We'll remove the code within the page.tsx. I can move this image to add a div like home page. Let's make sure that this is up and going. And we'll go to localhost 3000. You see that we have our home page on screen. Perfect. So next up, I want to install Prisma. And we're on the Prisma documentation with the guide for frameworks, and it integrates easily with Next.js. They have it within the docs on how to set it up. So from this specific URL, we have the Next.js documentation on how to install the Prisma ORM in the application and deploy it to vercel. So we basically can just walk through this documentation guide because it gives you step-by-step instructions on what to do. So we've already created the Next.js application. The next step is to install and configure Prisma, and we need to install these dependencies. So we'll start by copying this. Add a new terminal, paste it in. No issues there. The next dependency is installing the Prisma client and the Prisma adapter, the .env pg. Copy it. Paste it in. Perfect. Once installed, initialize Prisma in the project. So we'll copy this command, npx prisma init, and it should install the generated Prisma directory inside of the app folder in the root of the project. So we'll copy this. Initialize Prisma in the project, no errors, connect the existing database. You can configure the database URL in the prisma.config.ts file and run Prisma DB pull to interspect with your database. But we won't use those commands. We're going to take a slightly different approach. And what this npx prisma command initializing it should have created a Prisma directory with the schema.prisma file, the prisma config.ts file for configuring Prisma, a .env file containing a local database URL at the project root. The app generated Prisma output directory for a generated Prisma client will be created when you run the Prisma generate or Prisma migrate dev later on in this step. But let's confirm that we have these files and directories as listed. You see we have the Prisma directory with the schema.prisma file that has the database DB pointing to the output app generated directory. We have the prisma.config.ts file, and we also have our .env file where we can add the database URL. So let's go ahead and add the database now, and we're using a Postgres database via vercel. I am already logged in, but it is free to set up and we'll go add new. We're adding a project. No, I'm sorry, we're not adding a project. From here, from the organization view of all of the projects listed, click on storage, and we are going to create a database, and we're creating a Neon serverless Postgres. This is the region that is closest to me. We're going to keep everything as set up based on the defaults. We're just going to name the project CRUD Next App, then click Create, and there's provisioning in process. You can click Continue, it's done. Environment variables, production, preview, deployment, testing code on your local machine. So I'm not going to worry about selecting any of these just yet. I'm going to keep it just as is. Oh, looks like we had to refresh the application. Well, if we refresh the page, we see that the database is now set up. And what we want is the .env environment variables. Copy those and add them back in the project. Just copy this, delete it, paste it in. We click save and delete that out. And if we go back, I think we can actually close this out now. We don't need this anymore. Yeah, we're good. All right, so going back to the Prisma documentation, next thing we want to do is create a Prisma Postgres database and replace the generated database URL in your .env file, which we've already done with the database that we're going to set up, but this is a different approach to doing so. Then we'll need to define our schema, and we'll create a model named post and add it within the root of the project. As a matter of fact, we can use this exact same one. I think the only change I will make, we'll copy this. Just making a simple full stack CRUD app today, showing how to connect the Prisma Postgres Next.js database. All right, so now we've copied it, pasted it in the schema.prisma file. And I'm going to change this. Actually, I don't need content right now. I don't need any of this. What we do want is, it doesn't have it here, that's okay. I want to add created at, and I also want to update this string. So let's do this. Bless you. I want to remove this and set this ID to be a string, and ID default, and we'll see ID. And this is just setting the ID to be a string, and we don't need to worry about publish. But I do want created at, and this is going to be the date time object, and I think for it is default now. At default now. I believe that's right. If not, we'll get an error. And then we want updated at date time at updated at, and I don't think we need anything else. So we'll just say we'll always come back. We can always come back, excuse me, and make changes and updates to it as needed when we add authentication. But for right now, this will be suffice. So what we have is just a model named post that has a ID field and a title field. The ID field will be automatically added by the database, and it'll be a unique number generated by Prisma. The title, we'll add that as we type in the title. We'll have a server function that'll run on the server that will interact with the Postgres Prisma database, the database cluster that we set up and integrated into the project. So we can go ahead and save this file and head back to the documentation. Next is adding to add the .env to the prisma.config.ts. If we go to that file, it is already listed there. Perfect. Then we'll need to run the migration and generate the Prisma client. So I'll go ahead and copy this command, npx prisma migrate dev, and the name of it is going to be init. Back into the terminal. We'll paste this in. We got an error. Database URL redacted. Schema engine. Let's see. Oh, I see. Schema validation. Uh-oh. Looks like I typed something in incorrectly. Let's see. Duh. Edit at. Let's save this file. Now if we head back to the documentation, next we need to run the migrations and generate the Prisma client. So we're going to copy this npx migrate dev and name it init. And from the terminal, we'll paste in that command. Give it just a moment to finish running. And you'll notice we got no errors and we now have migrations. And then back in the docs, generate the Prisma client. We got no errors there. And if we look, oh, I see they installed Claude now. And if we look, we have the generated Prisma directory inside of the app folder, which has the models, the client.ts, enums, all of the goodies. So we are certainly on the right track. Now let's go back to the docs. I'm not going to worry about seeding the database, but what I will do is it should ask us to launch the Prisma Studio. And what this is a lightweight interface that allows you to interact with the database directly without having to go directly to a Postgres database via vercel. So I'm going to launch this studio by running the command npx prisma studio. Press enter. And it is starting. And it is currently running on localhost 512.12. No. We don't want to terminate. There we go. And we'll launch it. And as you can see, within the studio, under tables, we have our migrations and our model name post, which has an ID as a text field created at. which is the timestamp, the title, which is text, and updated at, which will be a timestamp. So let's go ahead and insert a row. The first is going to be the ID, which I'll just name it 1 or number it 1. The created at will be the default time value. The title is going to be first post from studio. And updated at should remain as default. So I'm gonna click save row. Yes, we want to write it to the database. Notice that the row saved successfully. So now let's head back to the text editor. Let's go back to the code editor. Our project is still running. So let's go ahead and one second. One second. Check something real quick. All right. So with that, we are ready to bring the data from the database onto the web application. So let's check out documentation and see what it has for us. This will be referred to as fetching data. So the approach we're going to follow is fetching data with an ORM or a database. Since server components are rendered on the server, credentials and query logic will not be included in the client bundles, so you can safely make database queries using an ORM or a database client. So what we'll be using is the Prisma ORM. So before we can run this function within the page.tsx file, we need to add a function inside of the application that gives us access to the Prisma client throughout, which gives access to models, the schema, and the ability to mutate, query, update, and delete data. So inside of the documentation, there should be a function. And the cool thing is here it is right here. Here's the function that we need to run within our application so that we'll have the ability to get access to the Prisma client and also all of the functionality from Prisma by leveraging that function and utilizing it throughout the app. So what I'll do is add a directory named lib and a file named prisma.ts. And I'm just going to paste this code inside of that file so that whenever I want to update the database or get access to Prisma, I'm going to leverage this function. So in the root of the project, a directory named lib, a file named prisma.ts. Just going to paste it in. And what it's basically doing is getting access to the Prisma client from the generated Prisma directory and also Prisma PG. And it's basically creating a function named Prisma that will attempt to establish a connection to the Postgres database. If there's one already there, it's going to leverage that one. If there's not one already there, it's going to establish one. And then with that, we'll be able to use this client throughout the application. Got to give us access to the models. And with the models, we'll be able to create, update, delete, and get all of the models by using this function and getting access to the Prisma client. So based on the Next.js documentation, we need to use the query requests based on the ORM. And this is the syntax that we're going to follow. Within page TSX, import Prisma, we'll use find many to get all of the posts. And from there, we'll loop over and display the post title. So we're just basically going to follow this exact same logic. So back here. Close this. Again, importing Prisma. And that should be coming from @lib/Prisma. We need to make this an asynchronous function. For the constant name post, set it equal to await prisma.post find many. And within this, we'll add another div. And we'll just give this a gap of 2. And with this, I just put it in a div, and then we need to run some JavaScript to get access to all of the posts within this const name post. And we'll be looking for the title, the ID, created at and updated at, but we're only going to display the title. So we'll go post map, and for each post we're going to name it P to represent post. For each one we'll display a div that will have a key of p.id, and they will have a p tag that will hold p.title. And if we click save, what we should see is the post that we added inside of the Prisma Studio on our local host 3000. So if we refresh the page, we see posts from Studio. This is the name of the post that we just created. So we know that we now have a connection established to our Postgres database via Prisma inside of the Next.js application. The next functionality we want to add is the ability to create posts directly from the application and not just manually add them from the database. So docs, and the docs, and the Prisma docs, it doesn't go over that syntax, but that's okay. We'll go to here it is. So basically, based on the Prisma documentation, we can do this by adding a new page if we like, and then inside of it will have a function, but we can add this to a separate file. Basically, that will accept form data that'll run on the server. It's going to get the title as a string and perform some action in order to create a post. Yeah, it's running a form action, running this action inside of this form element. And once you click submit, it's going to create a post. So we'll basically follow that same logic, but we'll create a separate directory to store that function. So inside of lib, we'll add a folder named actions and a file named new post.ts. Begin by marking this as use server, and we're going to import Prisma, and it should be coming from .. Prisma because these are in the same directory. There we go. Create an export default async function and create post. And it's going to accept form data. It's coming from the form data object. This is a JavaScript option if you didn't know. JavaScript object if you didn't know, excuse me. The inside of this will have a const for title and set it equal to form data.get, and we're gathering the title as a string. And I think for this, we could just go await prisma dot post dot create, and what we are creating is data, pass in the title, and then we'll add revalidate import, revalidate path from next cache, so we can revalidate the data, and we'll send the user back to the home page. So this function is going to accept form data. We'll destructure out or get the title from this form data object stored in a const named title, and then use the Prisma client to create a post, passing in the data, which is the title. Once this function is successfully ran, we'll revalidate that data on the server so we can get the most up-to-date information. So I think we also need redirect as well. Import redirect. That should come from next navigation, and then we'll just redirect the user back to the home page. Let's test it out. So here, we'll add a new directory named new. And inside of it, a file named page.tsx. We'll export default async, new async function, new post page. And just return right now a div new host page. Hit save. And the page.tsx, let's bring in link from next. Is next link? I guess so. This is all posts. Let's go div next. So next auto next with screen. Let's go medium. Okay, replace it with 3XL. And then here we'll go class flex, item centered, space. Let's go justify between with the full. And let's put post article website, and then the other one will have a div with a link, so href/new. New post page. So if you aren't aware of next link, for those that might not be aware, the link component is a React component that extends the HTML8 element to provide prefetching and client-side navigation between routes. It is the primary way to navigate between routes in Next.js. And basically what we've done is just import the link component from NextLink, give it a href. The href should mirror the route that we are redirecting the user to. And the way you set up routes in Next.js, it is a folder file-based route system. So you'll add a folder within the app directory, you'll set the name of that folder, and once you add a page.tsx inside of that folder, it is now a route, and you can navigate to that route with the link component by setting the href of that and including the slash with the name of the route or the folder that you set that route to. Here's a reference of what it can look like and all of the different options that can be passed within link. We have href, replace, scroll, prefetch, on navigate, transition types. And here's just what it looks like inside of the documentation with a example. Importing link, and you want to navigate to the about page, and the name of this is test. So inside of this function named page, you're returning a link with the href, and you can have access to path name, which is /about, and also the query, which is setting the name of the site, which is test. So that's the reason that you're seeing the name test inside of the query. And then from there, this kind of continues to talk about all of the different options and the ways that you can leverage href and use it within your project. I'm not going to bore you with all of those right now, but inside of this project, we're using it to navigate to the new route that we created named new. And that route is inside of the app directory, and it has a page.tsx file. And once I click on the new route, I should be redirected to, once I click on the link that has new page or new post associated with it, I should be redirected to this page, and on screen I should see new post page, representing that we're on the new post route. So let's test it out. localhost 3000/new. And you see we are redirected to the new post page. And just like that, it is that simple to use link within Next.js. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's check this out too, really quick. All right. I don't worry about adding that right now, but we will add use path name, and I need a way to take us back to this page once we've clicked on new post. So let's do something with that. Use that to the sense. I have 2, 3 divs. Here we'll go post home. This one. Just adding some style to this. Let's check it out. There we go. There we go. No refresh, automatically rendering. Perfect. All right, so now let's add the ability to add a post right here on screen. We'll need to bring in the create post function, which is coming from libaction/post. And we can remove, actually we'll keep that underneath. And underneath that, another div with a form. We'll give it a action of create post. Uh-oh. input with the name of title, ID of title, placeholder of post title, yeah, and then a button, create post, and then we can just add a type of submit. All right, so we'll say first post from page. So what should happen? We should click create post. The information should run through the create post function, validating it on the server, storing it within the Postgres database using Prisma. The data should be revalidated, and then we should be redirected back to the home page, the /new route. And we see we have the first post from studio and then first post from page. And if we check our local host, we see that we have two posts within the database, first post from page and first post from studio. So we know that it works. Perfect. All right. I'm not gonna worry about deploying yet, but we may. Let's do the updated page. Then we can have a update and delete button right here and make this a form. Yeah, let's do that. We'll go back to the page.tsx. No, first, let's go to, we need to create the function that is going to update the post. So lib actions update post.ts, import prisma, and we'll bring in revalidate path. Also redirect from next navigation and export default async function update post. So data will const id is equal to form data.get id as a string, const title equal to form data.get title as string. Let's think about this for a second. I think we can do where the ID as the find method. Let me see something. I don't have to guess. That's why we have the docs. Yeah, just using where. So we'll do that. Keep it simple. And all we need to do is just use where. So we'll go await, and then it is, yeah, because we don't need to store this we're going to redirect the user. So we don't necessarily have to worry about storing this in a constant and returning it. So we'll just go await prisma.post.find. Is it find and update, or is it update? I probably should have checked update. And this is going to be where the ID and data is title. All right. And then we want to revalidate the path and redirect the user. And I'm getting a syntax error here. Yeah. So similar to the create function, we're going to be passing in the form data, destructuring or getting the title and ID from the form data as a string, using Prisma client to get access to the posts, and then the update method where the IDs match and we have the ability to update the title. So we'll click save, and we should be at a point where we can test this out. So let's go to this page, and we're going to import update post, and we can remove this div and replace it with a form. No, we're not going to do that. Update post. I'm going to remove this p tag and pass in a form, and it is going to have a input with the ID as the ID, name as the ID, and the default value is going to be p.id. I'm going to click save for right now. The action for this is going to be update post, and we'll pass a button of update post, type submit, and we need a title. Title, name, title. I think this is it. Title. All right, click save. What we should see is the ID on screen, the input for the title, and also a button to submit. Let's confirm it. Yeah. And as you can see, here's the IDs. And then now if I add update it to one of these, so update it, click update, refresh. You see it reads updated after the refresh. Go to the Prisma Studio, refresh. You see updated there as well. So we're clicking with grease. Now, what we want to do is just hide that. It's just an eyesore, and the ID doesn't need to be displayed. So we'll go hidden, save, and you no longer see it. Perfect. Now we just need to add the ability to delete. So, and the syntax for that is the exact same as we did for updated. So it shouldn't be much to adjust with that. Let's go here, add action, delete post. Server, import Prisma, import revalidate path, And we don't need the redirects. We actually don't need it. I didn't put it here. Let me remove it from this one and remove it here. Save this. And we'll create an export default function. Export default async function. Async function. Delete post. Data. From this, we only need to get the ID. And just go await prisma dot post dot delete. ID. And just go revalidate path. Same concept as prior. We're passing in form data, and we're just capturing the ID from that form data using the Prisma client to get access to posts and the delete method. And we're going to find the post that has the corresponding ID, run this function, all goes well, we will revalidate the path, and we should be good to go. So now let's test this out. Page.tsx, let's import delete post. And underneath this form, we'll run another form with the input. And we can actually copy this exact same line of code, paste it, add a button, delete post, so action, delete post, type submit. Hit save. Now let's test this out. Probably make it a flex. If we click delete post, what should happen is the post should delete. So I'm gonna add a new post to test out the process. Second new post live. Click create, we get redirected. I click delete. What should happen is it should just delete. The data should update with no refreshing of the page. And as you can see, it deleted without an issue. And with that, we have successfully built a full stack CRUD application using the latest version of Next.js. Prisma as the ORM and connected to a Postgres vercel database. The only thing that we have left to do at this point is to deploy the project. So if that's something you'll be interested in seeing, just let me know. But otherwise, I am going to take a break. All right, let's get back to it. Step away for a hot second. So let's just have a little fun with this and start to add some additional features. I think the first one that would probably make the most sense that I've already began was giving the link the ability to be highlighted. So if the path name matches the name of the link that we're on, we can have an indicator just showing that this link is active. So it's basically just getting access to the use path name object. So what we should be able to do is just use this and state that if it is equal to whatever the route is that we on, let's have a unique color to specify that. So it should be pretty straightforward. I think we can add this feature in really simply and quickly. Let's do it. So one of the easiest ways to improve the overall experience of a website is simply just by having a highlighted link on the navigation page. Basically what I'm referring to is just being able to indicate that you're on a specified route so the user knows what page they're on and how to navigate back to the home page or whatever page they may be accustomed to using the most. So what I want to do now is go ahead and just add a button of home and keep the new button as listed here. When we click on the new button, we'll be redirected to the new route. We won't see off, but we'll see new and home. But we'll also have the new button as a unique colored text just to indicate that we're on that route. And if we click on home, if we're on the home route, we're going to have a unique color for home there. So let's go ahead and work on that now. What would be the most efficient way to do this? So this is a client-side component from what it indicated. So we'll need to put this in a separate file. We'll go post. And according to the documentation, the way it is export default, but I think I would rather have it as a const. So let me keep this as default. Use path name, the path name object. This name is just use current. Use path. Import the use path name hook. Current path name equal to use path name. And let's just return a nav. Import int. The href of home and another link with a href of new. Give this some style, but full space. Actually, yeah, space. X2. To justify. Import nav link. Or import nav. Let's check it out. Home and nav. So we'll start by bringing in a nav bar that has two links of home and new. As we click on the new button, it redirects us to the new route. So it'll make more sense to put this in the layout. So let's do that. I usually like to put this in something different, but we'll add now to the layout. Let's repeat that. Let's clean this up a little bit. And on the X of 4 and on the Y of 2. Check this out. So there it is there. Let's fix the width of this. That is and let's go X auto max with, I think it's 3XL. Yeah, and we can give it a little more, clean that up a little bit. Let's do, should be good with the layout. We can just print this. Yeah. I don't know why it's here. Okay, that'll work. So now, let's go back. And while we have the off, remove this. Where we have the off, I think I have it here. Yeah, this. I should probably put this in padding on the extra full, padding on the line to put this as a reusable component, so we have a consistent layout throughout the project versus me trying to make sure I remember the layout. But there, I think this is it. Cool. All right, so we now have that. All right, so let's shift our focus to the nav links. So what we want to get accomplished today. So one of the easiest ways to improve the user experience is by having links to indicate the routes that you're on to help the user better identify where they are on the homepage. What I want to do in this Next.js project is add the ability to see a different color text if we are on the home or new route. In the current state, if we click on one of the links, it does redirect us. However, the text remains the same. And as the application scales, it just makes it a lot easier for the user to know what route they're on by having some form of indicator. So what we'll be doing is using the documentation and the latest version of Next.js and its suggested method of how to conditionally render if we're on a particular route, show the text as one color. If we're not, show it as another. So this is meant to be something super simple. So let's get started. All right. How to build approach and mindset to code any project. Hey, what's going on, my friend? I appreciate you stopping by. So that is a very good question. Um, Anytime you are building a project, you're right. You do want to have the right mindset and you want to have the right approach when you take it. The first thing you're going to need is to be confident that you can deliver whatever it is that you agree upon with your client. So whether it is a full stack application that has interactivity, whether it's a static website, whether it is an information website, you got to be confident that whatever you two agree upon, you have to be able to deliver it. Got to be confident. Number two, be transparent about what you can and cannot deliver. If you know, excuse me, if you know that what they're asking for is a lot more complicated, one of the things I like to do is sit down and figure out what is it that you ultimately want to get from this website. So if the main thing you want to get from this website is to be able to take pictures and put it on the internet, have people buy from you and you collect the payment, then let's make sure that we focus on that. And if that's something that I can't deliver, I need to be transparent and let that client know that, hey, this is something outside of my skill set. You might want to get someone else. And then once you have those things out of the way, an agreed upon plan that you can deliver and that you're confident that you can do, you just want to take your time and deliver the MVP first, the minimum value product first, whatever it is that they want done, just that. And then as you perfected that, make sure that it shows on different browsers, make sure you don't have any data leaks, make sure your code is clean, things of that sort. Then you can start to add in some additional features. But a great question, man. Mindset for me is a big thing. And the number one thing I got to do is be confident and be clear on what it is that we can and can't do. And then look for ways to bring value back to the client. Help them with search optimization. Let them know of different things that's going on that can improve the website. Hey, you know what? I noticed that a lot of your users click on these particular links more frequently than others. Have you thought about having promotional items on these links, or do you know what's driving your customers to these links more so than these? Be interactive and provide value back to the client. and have some research done so that you know what to look for and you know how to give them advice on what they can do to have a better product for their customers, because the better that you can deliver something for them, all they're going to do is tell the next person about what great job you've done for them and how they recommend you, and here are the ways that you've helped them. And quite honestly, be able to kind of track that stuff yourself. If you've helped drive more traffic, if you've helped reduce some costs, be able to kind of speak to that. Great question though. Where are you in your coding journey, if you don't mind me asking? How long have you been coding? All right. So what I want to do now that I have access to those links in this, go class name. Mm-hmm. And, oh, wow. In the world going on upstairs in my house? it's, it just all of a sudden a bunch of noise is getting made. I'm like, good grief, what? Ah, that was too funny. All right, so now that we have the links displayed on screen, what we want to do is conditionally render one class name or text or styling if the path name is this, and something else if it is not. So since we are doing something dynamic and some JavaScript, we know we'll need to add some brackets, and we'll go path name is equal to slash. Then I want the text color. I want the text color to be 600. And make the font bold. Otherwise, I want the text to be neutral. UTRAL 900. Let's just save, test this out really quick. All right, so we see perfect, it works. With some simple JavaScript, we were able to uniquely display a different color if we are on a route that equals the root route. So we see that the home text is now orange. Now let's update the new route so that it has the same conditional rendering approach. And we'll just copy this. We'll just copy this. Paste it in. And change this to new. I can tone that down a little bit. 500. And I think I would rather have this 300 maybe. Let's do that. Yeah, absolutely. Just share whatever the concern is. If you have a GitHub or however you can get it to me, yeah, I'll be happy to assist with that. And thank you for the kind words. All right, so we've updated the new route to have the same code as the home route. The only difference is the path name is /new, which we'll come back and modularize this so we're not repeating ourselves, and maybe put these in a unique component as well. But for right now, this will get the job done. So now let's test this out. Awesome. And you see the text changes based upon the route that we are on. So if we're on the home route, we get one color. If we're on the new route, we get a separate color. And just that simple, we've added some interactivity to the home page by leveraging the use path name hook inside of the Next.js application so that we can uniquely identify the route that we're on by indicating a different color for that text name. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So let's see, what else can we add? What else do we want to add to the application? Ooh, error handling should be fun. Deploying. I think I'll be over there. We'll grab that right quick. All right. So what do we want to add next? Oh yeah, the form component. The form component extends, the form component extends the HTML form element to provide prefetching of loading UI client-side navigation on submission and progressive enhancement. It's useful for forms that update URL search params as it reduces the boiler code needed to achieve the above. Basic usage. Import form action search. On submission, the input value will be appended to the URL. e.g. search query ABC123. Make the name of it query, hit search. The behavior of the form component depends on whether the action prop is passed a string or a function. When action is a string, the form behaves like a native HTML form that uses a get method. The form is encoded into the URL search params, and when the form is submitted, it navigates to the specified URL. In addition, Next.js prefetches the path when the form becomes visible. This preloads shared UI layout.js, loading.js, resulting in faster navigation. Okay. So it is prefetching that data prior to it gathering it and loading it, which is giving it a faster experience. Actually, this is a function, so I'm going to move on to the React form. Show you the props for it. When action is a string, the form component supports the following props. Action. Replace, replace the declare history state, add state. In the results page, you can search the query string, you can search for realms, version, prop, and you can choose position. So this is the button. Let's try this really quick. Basically what it's doing, you have the search button on Basically, what this form is doing is treating the search as a query, and it is redirecting the user to that specific search page based on the query. So you'll import form from next form, and you'll create a button, which is a client-side component. The inside of it, where the form action is where the search field will be located. So the form will have the action of search, which is where the which is where the user will be redirected. The input will have a name of query, and I'm assuming you'll need to add a placeholder or something to give the user the ability to type. And then the search button is going to do the heavy lifting, indicating using the use form status hook, which is a client side hook, indicating if it is in a search status, it is searching, and if it is in a steady state, it's going to show search. So everything will be handled through the button. So let's test this out. All right, so inside of the application, we want to add the ability to perform a search. And we're going to use the Next.js form component in order to perform that search. The form component basically extends the HTML form element to provide prefetching and loading UI, client-side navigation on submission, and progressive enhancement. The basic usage of it is your import form from next form, and within the function, you're going to use the form component and pass a action, which is going to be to the route that will have the search results or have the results of the search function that you just ran. Inside of that form, you pass an input with the name of query, and you'll also have a button with the type of submit that the client will click on when they're ready to perform the action. The behavior of the form component is going to depend on whether the action prop is passed a string or a function. When an action is the string, the form is going to behave like a native HTML element form that uses a get method. The form data is encoded into the URL as a search param, and when the form is submitted, it's going to navigate to the specified URL. Basically, it's going to work like a big link button. Once you type in the characters, you hit the button, you'll be redirected to search based on the query that's in the URL, showing the results. And from here, it just kind of talks about the behavior that it's going to have based upon if it is receiving a string or a Boolean. So of course, we're going to pass in string with the route of /search. And we're basically just going to follow the exact example that they have within the documentation. So let's go ahead and test and set that up now. I'm going to start by creating the app search page. Oh man, what in the world? Hold on 1 second. What do you want with me right now? Hold up, hold up, hold up. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. I just need to check something out. Man, so how's everybody's day going? Man, it has been a fun and productive day for me. I can't even lie. I had to run a few errands for my mother, and that's always a good time in itself. And she's doing pretty good, but I hated I had to leave work abruptly like that, but just a lot going on right now. But everybody's good, so no complaints. Where the hell is
Wait, you
the
don't write anything
doggone
down?
thing at? Because I need to get a hand on it. Um, all right, so it's gonna capture the params and show the results. Mm, all right. I'm trying to think of the most efficient approach to query this thing. Um, mm, whoa, yowza. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really important to make sure that you set aside time to challenge yourself and not just rely on the always most efficient approach to getting things done. There's nothing wrong with really challenging yourself and pushing yourself to do things that you probably aren't accustomed to doing. I think there's a different approach. Use search params as a client side, as a client component that lets you read the current URL query string. Use search param contains a read-only version of search params. Okay. Returns a boolean indicating the param. Use search and client hook is not supported in several components to prevent stale values being partially in. If you want to fetch data in several components based on search params, it is often a better option to read the search param block. Page, params, promise, search params. Displaying content based on params. Using dynamic lock segments, you can display or fetch specific content for the page based on params block. You can use the search param comprehend the filter and pagination and sort based on the query string. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think through the most efficient route to put this together. And I'm thinking I'm going to have to use, there are two different approaches. You could use either the client side approach or the server side approach. It really just depends on the project needs. Right now, I'm kind of in a space where I can do either, but I think I would rather keep, traditionally, I just like to keep things as close to how they intend to be versus deviating from it too much. So I think what I'm gonna do is take a server side approach. All right, I think that probably makes the most sense. So let's try this. All right, so I think what I need is I think I need to just bring in. Make this a little bigger. Yeah. All right. So in this nav bar, let's bring in use router, use search params, and then inside of it, we create the const. The name is search params. Params. Yeah. So equal to use search params. And the const. This is going to be. I think there's a replace. Router. as a replace. And basically what this is going to do, of course, this is going to capture the search params as indicated, and this is just going to replace, and that is a functionality provided from Next Navigation to help with the routing of the application and providing updates as needed. I think next up we need to create a function to handle the actual search. Function and handle search. And it is going to take in a term, which is a string. And then we'll start by creating a const named params and setting it equal to new URL search params. And in this, we're going to pass in search params. So we'll get access to this inside of this const named params. And then we'll do some good old basic conditional rendering with a simple if else statement. It's going to take in term, and we'll say if the params dot set with the query equal to term, else if not, we're going to do params dot delete, and what we want to delete is the query. Otherwise, we want to replace the path name I think this should be there, or params to string. Should we do that? Because basically what it's going to do is either going to show the path name or the params as a string. And then for this, we basically just need a input with a type of search. Oh, Tony Romo. Man, poor guy. Hopefully he's okay. Get the help he needs. Ruffler out in there. give it a placeholder of search by title. And give it a default value of search params dot get, because remember it mentioned it was a get request and we are getting the query. Or we just want to show a empty string. We just need a simple on change handler that will be listening for an event. And basically we just want it to handle the search, which is the function that we created earlier, and we're just going to pass in e.target.value, because that is what we want it to utilize inside of the search function. And give this class name margin left auto. Actually, this should be margin right auto. So bounded border neutral 200 and on the X of 1 on the Y 2. So save. Now let's take a look at it. So you see we have the search right here. And we see the query in the URL. Perfect. And we also see the X to remove the search. Perfect. Now what we want to do is update the post, the query. Now we want to update the ability to query the post, so that as we update the URL based on the search field, the posts begin to filter, so that they are now indicating the results based on the search. So we'll need to go to page.tsx. First, we'll create a const name query. I'm sorry, we'll create a const and set it equal to await search params. Actually, no. I need to pass something into the home page. So inside of the home function, we'll pass the curly braces and add search params. Actually, yeah. I think the syntax is this. And I'll check the documentation just to make sure I have this correct. But it should be search. Hold on. Hold up, yeah, sometimes you get a little stuck with this thing. I gotta kind of dig in to figure it out. Um, I think I will do that. Search for- No, this isn't a client. I'm staying in the server. So this is it. Copy this. Paste it back into the home page. Okay. And it will create a const we set equal to await search params. And what will be inside of the curly braces will be query to be equal to a empty string, and it helps to spell const correct. So basically what we'll be doing is utilizing the home page or passing in the search params from the URL into the home function, manipulating it properly and getting access to query and using it inside of our find many method so that we can query the post within our display of posts. So what we'll need to do next is update the find many query so that we hold on, that might be worth checking out. Yeah, it was a pretty good day, man. I didn't have a whole lot to do. I went to work early this morning and had to take a day and take care of some things for my mother. But once I got done with that, man, it was pretty smooth sailing. Sorry, I'm just trying to capture something really quick that popped up out of nowhere. Oh man, I'll come back to it. This one. Let's do this instead. So what we want to do now is update this find many method. What we want to do is update the find many method and specify the query by utilizing the object and saying where. And what we want is the title if it contains the query. We want to update it, and the mode we want to pass in is insensitive. And then from this, we'll just set the order by. Title ascending. So now what should happen is when we perform the search, we should be filtering the title based upon whatever it is that we just searched. So let's test that out. So I'm going to search for studio. Yep, there it is. And as you can see, it is filtered to the post title that has studio. And if we go back, I'm going to search for page. And as you can see, it is only displaying the post that has the name of page inside the title. And this is coming from the query within the URL. And the basic approach to set this up is inside of the nav bar, we have a client component, and we're passing in the use router, where we're getting access to the use router and use search param hook from Next Navigation. Inside of the function, we're gaining access to use search params with the const name search params and use router for replace. This is basically allowing us to get access to use search params and also the replace method inside of the use router so that we can have a seamless update based upon the parameter that we have within the URL. So we have a function named handle search, which is doing all of the heavy lifting. We're passing in a string. And inside of it, we're getting access to the URL search param and passing in the search params based upon the use search param hook. And that is being stored within a parameter named const. And from there, we just have a simple if-else statement. If there's a term we're going to set, we'll pass. If there's a term, we'll utilize params.set, the set method, and the query will be set to term. Else, we're going to delete the query, and based upon that, we'll be replacing it with either the path name or params.string. And then from there, inside of the return statement, I have this input next to the home and new links, but you can place it wherever you want. The key things with this is setting the input. Oh man. Um, all right, so we just set up the ability to search. You know what? Let's clean that up a little bit. We can style that a little better. All right, so we have the links. Replace those here. I have a new div with a logo. Let's save this and check it out. All right, so I think I'll put this in the center. And go justify between two W's. Okay, I see now. This needs to be in a bit. And we'll clean this up and make it a lot prettier. But for right now, we just want to have it just a smidge more presentable. Save this. Post, article post. Gotta be the logo. Justify between. And we have all of that. Let's check it out. All right, there. So, all right, so indeed, what we have is the latest version of a Next.js project. Do that. That looks good. Nice. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how simple it is to add a search functionality to a Next.js16 project that's connected to Prisma, that's connected to Postgres using the Prisma ORM. What we have is a simple application. What we have is a simple full stack application that's connected to a vercel database where we have the ability to create, update, and delete posts. Shifting the focus to the nav bar, we have a search field, and using Next.js and the app router, we have the ability to search for posts. So currently we have 2 posts created. And if we want to search for the post that has the name of studio in the title, we now see that it is indicated on screen with first post from studio. If we wanted to see the posts that have page in the title, we search for page. We now are displaying the post that has page in the title. And all of this is being done with Next.js with a minimum amount of code, not focusing on the style too much, but more so the functionality. So if you were looking to add the search functionality in a Next.js16 project using Prisma or any ORM for that matter, this is going to be a perfect video for you. So looking at the actual code itself, the star of the show is the nav bar. The nav bar is a client component where we have access to the use router and the use search param hooks, which are provided by Next Navigation. Inside of the nav function, we have access to the search params. Inside of the nav function, we have access to the use search param hooks inside of a const named search params, and we are destructuring the replace object from the use router hook. The main thing that's driving the functionality is a const named handle search, which takes a string. Inside of it, we have access to the URL search param, and we're passing in the search param const that has access to the use search param hooks. And we have a simple if else statement where we're passing in the term. And if it is a term, we set params to .set. And if it is a term, we have params utilizing the .set method and updating the query. Else, we're going to delete the param, and else we'll utilize .delete on the param, and we'll be deleting the actual query. And then after we've confirmed term, from there we'll be able to replace the path name based upon the result, and we'll either show the path name or we'll show the params to a string. And then inside of the nav bar, we have the search field or the search input. We have the type set to search, which is unique or special. We have the type set to search. We have a placeholder to help the user see where to actually search inside of the input field. The default value, as indicated within the documentation, states that the search param hook is going to work like a The search param hook is going to work like the get method. Basically, it is going to get all of the posts that have this search param inside of the query. And it is going to be looking for it, or it is going to display a empty string. And we'll see that in just a moment. We're passing in a on change event handler, basically updating the event.target.value based upon the event that takes place. And with that, that is basically all of the code that's needed in order to perform a search. So now if we go to the page.tsx, this is where we want to update the post based upon the search that took place. So the first thing we do is pass in the search params inside of the home function. And then from there, we'll be utilizing the query. If there's a query, it will be a string. Basically, this gives us the ability to filter post or filter. Basically, this gives us the ability to filter posts inside of the home page based upon the query from the URL. Then we have access to a query and we set it equal to await.search params. We're going to use this query inside of the find many method inside of our Prisma client, basically giving us the ability to search for the title based upon the query that we are passing in. So what this is saying is that inside of the find many, if we have a we want the we want to gather all posts, and inside of it, if we get a query, we want to leverage the title and update it to state that if the title contains the query, we want to display it on screen. And then we're just setting the order to ascending, and from there all of the magic is happening within the main page.tsx file, so that once we click or once we begin to search for a post, we automatically get a filter on the page to only the post that has the keyword or the query word within the title of that post. So just to kind of show it even more, I'm going to add a new post. So we'll say studio 123, create post. So now if we search for any post that has studio in the title, we now see that we have two posts that are being filtered down because we have two posts that have studio within the title. So just like that, we were able to add the search functionality into a nextjs16 project. And based upon the ORM that you're using, you may need to make a few tweaks here and there, but the process overall remains the same. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right, so we've done search. I probably need to work on this styling a little bit. See if I can find a good website with articles that I can emulate and steal there. Not steal, but maybe not modify, but just kind of mirror what they're doing to give me some inspiration, because I am not good with design. I more so enjoy the functionality and the back end and that side of the house, not so much a design, but I'm going to find something online that gives me inspiration to build out a nice looking UI for the post. And that'll be something that's a little lighthearted. And we'll also add suspense, error handling, a rich text editor, authentication. Basically, gonna have some fun with this and add all of the functionalities based on the documentation. So if you are new to Next.js and want to learn, this is going to be a fun little series that I'm very committed to giving some time to on a daily basis and having some fun with. So I hope you find value in it. And if there are features that you'd like to see me add that I don't currently have, or you just want to learn how to add them yourself, or see somebody else struggle with add them, look, let me know. I'll be happy to look into it. But the first thing I want to do is kind of clean up this nav bar a little bit. And we'll make this more modular and all that good stuff as well. So just hang in there with me on it. It is coming right here. Class and flex, item center, space on the X of 2. And now let's look at it. If we open this up, it's got a little more space with it now. And it's using path name looks pretty good. So let me see if I can still blog underscore post website. I want something simple that doesn't require a whole lot, but hey, what's going on, my friend? Do I use coding agents at all? No, I do not. Um, no, I do not. Well, I mean, I use Chat GPT. That's about it. But I'm not real vibe coding, and nothing wrong with it. I'm familiar with how to use it. I just enjoy the journey of learning. Now, if I were building something for someone else, I absolutely would use it to help me with some of the granular work. So I don't have to type, all this CSS or type all of this repetitive code when I can have something kind of help me out and kind of give me some structure. But I kind of oversee the architect of it. So I could see where it's beneficial there, or maybe even help me build a repeatable system so that I can give it to a client and I can have multiple clients set up as a SaaS, if you will. But I enjoy coding too much. I enjoy the process of learning. So for stuff like this, where I'm trying to practice and teach and get advice and get creative, and I keep the coding agent side of it and just stick with good old me, the documentation, Google, and some struggle and some pain. What about yourself? Do you? It'd be cool to like build a template of different blog layout patterns. Well, I don't really see anything that I necessarily like per se like that. So I'll just come up with something. Maybe yeah, I'll come up with something. All right, let's do this. Let's go through and build out a little bit of the design there. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Let's make it style a little bit. Scroll this in a flex container maybe. Let's go in the flex. Item select. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, it does. I agree. It does. I don't dislike it. I tried using Copilot a little bit inside of my code editor to help me out. And it does give a lot of auto suggestions, man. And it is crazy how intelligent it is. Only issue for me with it was as I was trying to type, man, sometimes it was making suggestions that I didn't want it to make. And sometimes I kind of wanted to add the fields myself because it was adding more code than I thought was needed, or I didn't have a very good understanding of what it was that it was trying to add. So I kind of wanted to slow it down a little bit so that, okay, hold on, instead of adding that big, 40 line code function, let me kind of break this down to make sure it makes sense, to make sure I'm not repeating things or make sure I can't make it more efficient. Because that's a fairly large function for what it was that I was doing. But, you know, other than that, it is extremely intelligent. And a lot of times, once it kind of got the rhythm of what it was that I was built, and it really made a lot of accurate suggestions in order for me to complete what it was that I was trying to complete. So I agree. It does make you a lot faster. There's nothing wrong with using it, especially how you're doing it, learning the fundamentals, and then just using it to kind of help you review and help you make you more efficient. It's just for me when I'm trying to type code like this, I don't need so many suggestions if I'm trying to type some stuff out myself. So maybe if I can kind of like control when it comes up and when it doesn't, that'll be great. So like right now, I have this code on screen, and this is raw. This is not modular. This is a lot of repeatable code. I could have wrote this a few different ways and made it a lot more efficient. Could I leverage Claude Code to help me write this more efficiently, or should I take the time and write it out myself and make it more efficient? Because I could do it myself, or I could let Claude do it, or Auto Copilot, because it'll do a fantastic job and it'll get it right. But will I understand how it's brought together and where I can and can't leverage it? Yeah, you don't get imposter syndrome like that. It's one of those things where you know what you know and you know what you don't know. So that's kind of the reason why if I was working on something for someone else and I was on a deadline, yeah, I probably would. And I'll let it help me with a lot of the styling and some of the schemas and just some of the ground level work that I wouldn't have to do. But like the architecture and stuff like that, I'll still kind of own that because as things need to get updated or features need to change or whatever needs to take place, you kind of want to have a good understanding of what's going on versus just relying on a AI or a tool or something else to kind of help you with that. Absolutely agree, man. Good question. Mm-mm-mm. Appreciate everyone stopping by. It means a lot. It genuinely does. Mm, I need to do something with that. I think we got that done. Got that done. I think we can add out. Um, let's look back at this home page really quick. See if we want to do anything else with it. It's starting to come together a little bit. Maybe I'll give some gap in between these. Page TSX, we're here. Mr. Nav, now we're here. It is. This is going to be, this should be right here. class flex column space on the y of 2. Let's check that out. Yeah, that'll work. Move this over maybe. Move this over a little bit. Maybe round the borders. Clean up a little bit. I applied for a job in the preferred section. It listed knowing Ruby or Ruby Rails, so I thought to check Ruby. I can't find any recent tutorial. One video from 9 years ago. Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot with it, man. But just jump in the documentation and build a quick, simple project. That'll take care of it. At the end of the day, depending upon your coding experience, you know how to write functions. You know variables. You know all of the data types. You know, I'm assuming you're somewhat familiar with data structures and algorithms, and if it is, um, you're familiar with how to connect the front end to a back end and what a back end looks for and what servers look for and things like that. So at the end of the day, it's just syntax, and there are some unique things about it. Probably don't want to oversell yourself and say you're some expert with it, but there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, I have some exposure with it here, a few projects I've built with it. My primary experience is here, but here's what I've gotten done so far based upon limited exposure to this particular framework. Go for it though. But yeah, 9 years is crazy, man. 9 years is crazy. I'm assuming it's because it's just not as popular of a language right now, and people don't wish to see it, and it's not used as much. But that making a niche for you, I would go for it. Get a little bit of exposure, build a few things with it, learn, the rendering strategies with it. If it client, whatever, and then just go from there. Absolutely. All right, so I think I'll do rounded small space on the Y. And let's clean this up a little bit. So this is flex, item centered. Let's go. I'm gonna keep this like this for now. Let's go class, no. Let's go class name, margin right, 6. Let's see what this looks like now with that. It's a little better. So now can I bring them together and maybe delete the word post? Delete. We can move that over somewhere. So I'm actually in the process of learning cybersecurity right now. Um, so no, I don't have any working experience with it. Just what I'm in the process of learning right now. I have some IT experience, so that kind of gives me some familiarity with some things that are involved with it, but none yet. Not yet, man. I'm thinking of, well, I know I'm gonna get my CompTIA Security Plus certification, and I'm going to also do the Google certification, which I'm learning as well, and trying to do most of it online. But I got a deadline on when I want to take the CompTIA Security Plus certification first, and then the Google one, and then I may see what opportunities are out there. But basically, I just want to use it. Number one, I like to learn, but number two, I want to use it to make me a better web developer, know what to look for, and potentially have some form of income come in with it. But for right now, I just enjoy the process of learning and finding things to do to hold me accountable and keep my mind going. So cybersecurity made a lot of sense. And I enjoy it. Pen testing and all of that kind of stuff is pretty fun. I need to get Linux installed on a machine. I have another computer. I just need to get Linux installed. Because that's where it seems like a lot of the tools are located within Linux. So it would just make sense to go ahead and invest. Go ahead and invest. All right, so I'm not going to get too caught up in this, but I think I want to change this a little bit. But it's not that important right now, I'm assuming. But I do want to change this maybe to on click disappears and it sits over here. So why don't I do this? Let's go, let's set the width to full. No, that's not gonna give me what I'm looking for. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you can get the tools, but it's not technically made for it, so you're not getting the full blown experience. So it's like, gosh, that's the only deterrent. But I have been having fun with doing little things like building little hash functions and using different JavaScript APIs that I didn't know exist, that you can hash different text, and kind of understanding that whole HTTP process. Although I understand it and I know it, but learning cybersecurity has kind of given you a different fundamental understanding of how that works and why it's important, and why you want to have certain security measures in place, and different things that you might want to consider, rate limiting, and, authentication, authorization, not just setting, a user to a post, but making sure that user is who they are, maybe having multi-factor authentication, maybe just regular Google sign on. So it's kind of giving me a different perspective on what to look for and what are some of the things that I need to consider when I'm setting up applications myself, because I'm starting to do more for people and for myself. So, and learning the skill is cool. But man, you're right, man. I tried to put one of those things on this Windows computer, man. Man, that junk was boggy and not running right. I'm sitting up here like, oh my gosh. It took me so long to get the darn thing installed, and once I got it installed, it didn't work properly, and I'm trying to find guides on it, and everything is saying that it's not really built for this. So you kind of got to expect a not so good experience. So it was an experience to say the least. I don't think I'll be going back to it anytime soon. Not until I get a Linux machine, but it certainly was an experience. But I'm gonna keep learning though. I'm gonna definitely keep learning. What about yourself? Do you do anything with cybersecurity? Mm, set up pagination. Yeah, that's should be good. Nice, man. You're a pretty brilliant, pretty brilliant. Oh, if I could talk, you're a pretty smart, brilliant person. I see. How's Did you get in before AI kind of took off, or were you or did you just kind of get in the umbrella of AI? I'm just curious how it changed from now to what it was before. If you have any experience with it, but that's pretty cool, man. What kind of projects have you built?